Hare Krishna. Welcome to our evening katha. And taking advantage of this time to increase your reading. Today we're going to go to Gokul. And we'll also hear today is the appearance day of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, so we'll also hear about Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur today. And excuse me. So we'll sing a nice song, nice Braj Basa song that many devotees have requested that we sing. So if you look up Brajajana Mana Sukhakari, then that's the song we'll sing. Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Mor Mukuta Makara Krita Kundala Gale Vaijandi Mala Mor Mukuta Makara Krita Kundala Gale Vaijandi Mala Charananupura Rasala Radhe Shama 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 Charananupura Rasala Radhe Shama Shama Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Sundara Badana Kamaladala Lochana Banki Chittavana Hari Sundara Badana Kamaladala Lochana Banki Chittavana Hari Mohana Bamsi Bihari Radhe Shama Shama Sham Mohana Bamsi Bihari Radhe Shama Shama Sham Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Vrindavan me denu charabe Gopi jana manahari Vrindavan me denu charabe Gopi jana manahari Sri Govardhana Dari Radhe Shama 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 Sri Govardhana Dari Radhe Shama Shama Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama 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 Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Radha Krishna Miliyabado Gaura Rupa Avatari Radha Krishna Miliya Bado Gora Rupa Avatari Kirtana Dharma Prachari Radhe Shama 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 Kirtana Dharma Prachari Radhe Shama Shama Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Radhe Shama Shama Sham Sri Radhe Brajajana Mana Sukhakari Hare Shama Shama Sham Tum bina mere aur na koe Nama Rupa Avatari Tum bina mere aur na koe Nama Rupa Avatari Charanana me balihari Radhe Shama 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 Charanana me balihari Shama 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 Narayana balihari Radhe Shama 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 Narayana balihari Radhe Shama Shama Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Sham Radhe Oh Radhe Sham 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 Oh Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Radhe Sham Jai Jai Sri Radhe Sham. So again, we welcome to our evening katha. We hope you're all safe, taking advantage of extra time to study Srila Prabhupada's books. And today we're going to go to finish up with Gokul. Not finish, it's never finished, it's unlimited. And we'll discuss about Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, since it's his appearance day today. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandigam Adadanastranandandai Ridam Yache Puna Puna Sima Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyasta Kripasinnu Evata Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So yesterday we discussed about two demons, this Trinarvata and Sakatasura. So I looked up what Bhaktivinoda has to say about them. He doesn't say much, but he says that the Sakatasura represents lethargy in devotional service. So when he's removed by Krishna, kick him away. We saw Krishna kick that handcart that was in which the ghost had taken his form. So that's kicked away by Krishna. Just by executing our devotional service, Krishna kicks away all our lethargy. Prabhupada always said, you must remain enthusiastic in Krishna consciousness. So that kicks out our lethargy. And Trinarvat, he represents useless study of the scripture and learning, just to argue, because every pundit tries to defeat the other pundit, and they get in so many useless arguments, which is totally against the principles of pure bhakti. In pure bhakti, we're not trying to argue, we try to find out the truth about Krishna's pastimes. But generally the Mayavadis especially like to argue, and it's just like a big dust storm. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says Krishna, he strangles, he likes humility in his devotees, so he strangles this false pride of learning and in the heart of the devotee. So then we went to Brahmanda Ghat, and we heard about this Krishna showing the Brahman, the whole universe, in Krishna's mouth. And we described the altar, a very beautiful altar, this Radha Brahman Bihari is there, very tiny little deity like this. And this is run by some sadhus of Brahmananda Sampradaya. So they have all these collections of shilas with bright yellow Ramanandi tilak on them. And just to the left side, there's a murti of the last Mahant, who was Madan Mohan Baba. He lived to be over 100 years. He didn't know when he was born, but he knew it was over 100 years. But even though he was 100 years old, when I would come there, I would go to touch his feet, and he was so nimble, he would get up and get down and touch my feet before I could touch his. Such a humble Vaishnava. I was always surprised. Somehow he was so quick. I was much younger. But he left this world on the Nirjala Ekadasi in the year of Srila Prabhupada's centennial, 1996. And if we go around behind this temple, it's a small temple, we go around behind, they have beautiful Goshala with the fattest, wonderful looking cows. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about Gokul, is we see more cows than buffaloes. And my friend Sudama, who's now the Mahant there, he's lame, he's taking care of all these cows, so he always is begging for donation. The cows are also looking as soon as they see the Vaishnavas coming. And we're high up, looking out, overlooking the Jamuna. And here, as we described yesterday, there's a very large ghat. Now the government has put all brand new tiles and fixed it up very nicely. And this is the ghat where Srila Prabhupada himself took bath. Because if you've ever seen the Everywhere Was Your film, you'll remember that sometime Prabhupada takes off his sweater and gets into his gamcha. But this is the place. It was November of 1971, and Prabhupada had just done a big Pandal program in Delhi, and he brought all the devotees to Vrindavan, and then they stayed with Banwari Lal Pathak down by the Banki Bihari Junction, and Banwari Lal Pathak was very favorable to see the Prabhupada. I went to programs that were not ISKCON programs, but he never failed to glorify Prabhupada for putting Vrindavan on the map and bringing the world to Vrindavan. So anyway, they rented buses, and Prabhupada took all the devotees on Prikrama. So I'm just following in the footsteps. So they got to Brahmanda Ghat. Prabhupada went all the way down the steps, because Jamuna is flowing there very nicely. The river is very broad at that place. The other side is white, sandy, plain. Jamuna, she comes down from Delhi, and she gets to Braj. She begins to flow like this and like this. She doesn't want to leave, so she goes like this. Then she surrounds and gives big embrace to Vrindavan from three thighs. Then she flows like a crescent moon around Mathura, and then like a crescent moon around Gokul, and that's the last place she touches Braj. She goes off to Prayag to meet with her sister Ganga. The moon is very broad here. So anyway, Prabhupada went down. He touched the water, and because this is November, so it's quite cold in November. So Prabhupada said, "It is too cold for old man like me. But you all go in." So all the devotees immediately jumped into the water, and they were splashing and playing, and Prabhupada was seeing them enjoying so much. And you can see him sitting there in the Everywhere Was Your video film. He's discussing with O.B.L. Kapoor, his godbrother, Adi Keshav, And Prabhupada shakes his head like that, and then he's pulling off his sweater. And devotees there told me Prabhupada was out of his lungi and into his gamcha in one move, very gracefully. Then he went in the water, and then Indian style, he held his nose and boom, 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 3 times dunked in, and then was rubbing very vigorously his arms like that. And my godbrother, Shirodakshai Vishnu, was the one who helped him into the, late Shirodakshai Vishnu, helped him into the water. So next time you see the Ever Well-Wisher film, then you'll, if you go there, you'll recognize the steps and the wall behind the steps, beside the steps. So this is where Prabhupada also took bath in Jamuna at this place, very wonderfully. And outside the temple, they're selling those little balls. We told about Krishna, how Krishna allegedly, according to Balaram, Krishna ate the clay. Krishna saying he didn't. But they sell those balls of clay there. And when I first went there in 1974, for 1 rupee you got 40 pieces. Now, for 5 rupees you get 10. For 10 rupees you get 20. And if you eat it, it actually tastes very sweet. This clay is very sweet. Then there's a big embankment running out into the Jamuna, very high up. And there's a enormous, very ancient kadamba tree growing there. And all the villagers and the pandas encourage it. If you buy a piece of cloth, then they tie it around the branch of the tree and make some spiritual wish. And it's a very beautiful place. We all circumambulate around the tree, and you can see, if you, just like now, it's the end of May, so the buds are just starting to come on the kadamba trees, and in June they're fully blooming. But most of the time we just come because we don't do much prikama those times of the day, those times of the year. Just like today, it's only 41 degrees outside, so. But you can see the little seed pods, so you can imagine how many hundreds and hundreds of flowers in this tree, and the breeze is bringing the scent. And Krishna loves the scent. He loves kadamba flowers. So we told many times that this is reminds Krishna of Srimati Radharani. So we'll circumambulate this kadamba tree, we'll tie our cloth and make our spiritual wish, and we'll be on our way. So today is the disappearance day, the appearance day of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote this Chaitanya Bhagavat. There's 2 main literatures about the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Main one is Chaitanya Charitamrita, and second one is Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about the whole life of Sriman Mahaprabhu, and sort of skimps a little bit on the beginning part of Mahaprabhu's life, whereas Chaitanya Bhagavat is more on the beginning of Mahaprabhu's, his Navadvip and Mayapur Leela, a little bit of his Sannyas Leela, like that. So, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was considered the Vyasdev of Gaur Leela. In fact, our Krishnadas Kaviraj praises him in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela chapter 8, 34 to 42. Just as Vyasdev compiled Lord Krishna's pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakur Vrindavan Das depicted Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. His Chaitanya Mangala, because at that time it was known as Chaitanya Mangala, later Lochan Das Thakur published another book called Chaitanya Mangala. So Vrindavan Thakur's mother, Narayani, she told him change the name, so they made it Chaitanya Bhagavat. So anyway, here's the verse says, his Chaitanya Mangala annihilates all misfortune. From it I learned the wonders of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, and came to know all the most subtle doctrines of devotional service to Krishna. Vrindavan Das Thakur has summarized the essence of the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam in his Chaitanya Mangala. If even a Muslim or an atheist should listen to Chaitanya Mangala, he immediately becomes a great Vaishnava. An ordinary human being could not have composed such a sublime work. Lord Chaitanya himself has spoken through the mouth of Vrindavan Das. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vrindavan Das Thakur, who has delivered the entire universe through his book. He was born in the womb of Narayani, who eternally enjoys Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's remnants. How wonderful is his description of the activities of the Lord, simply by hearing which the three worlds have become sanctified. So this is Vrindavan Das Thakur's description by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So it's not much known about where he came from and all these things, but Srivas had a niece named Narayani, who was the daughter of his sister Malini, maybe sister-in-law, I think. So she was a very small child when Lord Chaitanya was having his pastimes in Srivas's house. But she used to come and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would tell her, chant, chant, chant. Mahaprabhu himself would tell her to chant. And this little tiny child, she would just chant, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya would tell her to take his remnants. She would come and take the remnants right off of Mahaprabhu's plate. And then she would manifest all the Asta Satviki Bhav. She would roll on the ground. She would cry. We cannot imagine the mercy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed upon Narayani, this little girl. Later she was married with one fellow from Kumar Hut named Vaikuntanath Bipra. And she moved to Kumar Hut from Srivas's house. But before she became pregnant, but before she could deliver the child, she was widowed. So she was in completely destitute position with no husband, no income. So she moved to Mamgachi, to the house of Basudev Dutt Thakur, and he maintained her as a housemaid in the house, and thus Vrindavan Das got the fortune to study with Basudev Datta. And he became very, very learned. He must have been about 4 years old when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas.
20.
No, he was 20 years when Mahaprabhu left this world. He was 4 years old when he took sannyas, 20 when Mahaprabhu left this world. So he studied very carefully there in Mamgachi. This is where he grew up along with his mother Narayani. And later Janava Ma took him along to the Ketarigram festival. So he also attended the Ketarigram festival where Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda appeared. He was the last disciple of Lord Nityananda. In fact, we don't find as much in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We find some glorification of Lord Nityananda, but throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat, he's constantly glorifying the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So he's the last disciple that Lord Nityananda made, and from hearing from Lord Nityananda's own mouth, he composed this Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is just most sweet nectar and filled with wonderful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya that we don't even know in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Our Krishnadas Kaviraj always says that because Vrindavan Das has elaborated these pastimes, I'm just giving the essence, but we find very full description of the early pastimes there. In fact, we'll tell one interesting pastime from Chaitanya Bhagavat. There's one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the house of Srivas Thakur, and suddenly he began to roar, and he sat down with 4 arms like Vishnu. And he began roaring, Garuda, Garuda, Garuda. At that moment, Murari Gupta entered the house and said, my lord, I'm here. He said, you're here? Yes. You don't remember? I took you to heaven to get the Parijata flower. I took you to Banapur and ripped apart the peacock of Kubera. I took you so many places. You don't remember? Yes, Sriva, yes. Come here. And then he said, oh, what universe do you want to go to today? So immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu climbed on the back of Mararigupta, and Mararigupta began running all around the house and all around the courtyard of Srivas Pandit, and all the people in the house began to shout, Hari, 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 Hari. They were all in ecstasy. And for a long time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced around the house on the back of Mararigupta, who wanted to serve the Lord in that way. So this is a very interesting pastime from Navadvip.
He was telling Mahaprabhu different places. He was telling Mahaprabhu he was at different places.
I don't know, it just says around the house and around the courtyard. So now we'll go to Puri, because Chaitanya Bhagavat tells many pastimes of Puri. There was one devotee named Paramananda Puri. And he had his ashram a little far from Jagannath temple. And one day Mahaprabhu came to his ashram and sat with him. And they were friends just like Krishna and Arjuna. And they used to sit and discuss Krishna Leela back and forth. And Mahaprabhu relished his association. So then he asked Srivas, I hear that your well is not very good. He said, no, Prabhu, it is filled with mud. Nobody can... Huh?
He asked Srivash or Paramananda Puri?
He asked Paramananda Puri, sorry. What about your well? He said, it is always full of mud and impossible to drink from it. And Lord Chaitanya laughed. He said, Lord Jagannath, he must be a miser. Because just by the touch of the water of Paramananda Puri's well, everyone will be delivered. Even a most sinful person will be delivered just by the touch of this water. So somehow by Lord Jagannath, by his potency, he's made it muddy and bad tasting so that no one will get this mercy. Then Mahaprabhu put his hands in the air and he shouted out that I pray that the Ganga that flows in Patala Loka will enter this well and the water will become clear. All the devotees were astounded. Everybody was shouting, Jai, Jai, Jai. So then Mahaprabhu left and all the devotees took rest. In the morning, when the devotees got up, they found that the water in the well was completely clear. And everybody began to circumambulate the well and everybody was chanting, Jai, Jai. Mahaprabhu got the news. So he ran there and he saw the water in the well was pure. He also began to circumambulate. Then with great joy, Mahaprabhu bathed himself with the water of that well and announced to anyone who touches this water will definitely get Krishna Prem. And all the devotees shouted, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. And he told the devotees, you must know that I only live in this world because of Paramananda Puri. Just to get his association, I'm staying here in this world. In this way, he purified the well of Paramananda Puri. So that well is there, a little bit far from Jagannath temple. Used to be a police station there now, but Arjun tells me now that when I saw it, it was in front of the police station. But now there's no police station is there. But if you get the water of this well, you will definitely be liberated from material existence and attain pure Krishna Bhakti.
Bhakti Thakur founded, you said Bhakti Thakur founded?
Oh yes, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati mentions in his commentary that it was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who was able to locate the well of Paramananda Puri. So we can all go to Puri now, take some of that water and be delivered from this material existence and from this coronavirus. So
all the well around the place tastes salty, but except that one.
Yeah. So we've heard that all the other wells in the area are salty, only that one is very sweet water. I've also seen that well, but that time the police station was there. Now it's by itself in some ashram. So as soon as this lockdown is over, sometime you can go to Puri and see the well at Paramananda Puri. Mahaprabhu by his own mouth told that I'm living in this world for Paramananda Puri only. He was such a wonderful devotee. So this Chaitanya Bhagavat is very, very wonderful literature. In fact, you can't study Bengali literature without studying Chaitanya Bhagavat. And we just heard Vrindavan Das said, even if an ordinary person, even if a Muslim, he said, reads this Chaitanya Bhagavat, he will develop love for Krishna.
Krishnadas Kaviraj said.
Huh?
Krishnadas Kaviraj.
Krishnadas, what did I say?
Vrindavan Das.
Krishnadas Kaviraj. All right. So, anyway, we thank you all very much for your attention and for your kind comments. We thank you very much, those who are giving donations for Brindakun, but we also need you because our Vrindavan temple, somehow we're going on serving Krishna Balaram, Radhasham Sundar, Gaurnitai, and Srila Prabhupada Samadhi, but there's not one single pilgrim coming, we're not getting one penny, so you can go to iskanvrindavan.com, iskanvrindavan.com, and please help us out to continue our service here in Sri Vrindavan Dham, because we have no other income at this time. And we thank you for your kind comments that encourage us very much, and we feel very indebted to you. So now, to study a little more, we're going to take a break for a couple of days, so we won't see you for a couple of days. We'll announce again when we're coming back. So, Hare Krishna.
You want to know how many people are there?
Oh, how many people are there today?
108.
108. Wow, very auspicious.